The following is a clip from Primo Radical Uncensored. To see the full interview, please go to rockfin.com/Primo Radical and sign up to become a premium member. As many of you folks know, the January 6th committee is now underway, and they're doing these interviews with people and sensationalizing the whole riot the same way that Trump's 2 impeachment hearings were sensationalized. So let's watch this. This is ABC's take. This is their marketing for airing the event.
ABC News Special. The seat of democracy attacked. Was there a conspiracy to overthrow an election? Tonight, the search for answers. What exactly happened before?
You'll never take back our country with weakness.
During.
We have stormed the Capitol! All we want is Pelosi!
And after.
We will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats.
January 6th will go down as one of the darkest days in recent American history.
Attack on the Capitol. The investigation. Now reporting David Muir.
So, obviously, the corporate media and the Democratic Party are just freaking out about this, as they freaked out about Russiagate, as they freaked out about both of Trump's impeachment hearings. And, this is happening in the backdrop of the economy collapsing, right? I was going to save this till later, but let's look how the Dow is doing right now. The Dow is down 800 points as of noon. So the economy is demonstrably collapsing. Again, it's been going down for months and months, right? We've covered this in other live streams that I've done. And this isn't just the Dow. This is bonds. This is cryptocurrency. This is collectibles market. This is the fact that gasoline is at an all-time high. Food prices are going up. There's supply chain disruption. The kids can't get baby formula. Like, there's across the board, the economy is collapsing, right? And it's not specifically just about inflation, and not specifically just about, the long-term effects of COVID, not specifically about the sanctions, although that is a major part of it, these suicidal sanctions. But overall, the U.S. economy is just collapsing, right? But what are we supposed to be focusing on? January 6th. That's what the Democratic Party, that's what the corporate media wants you focusing on. And you want to know why? Because they have no answer to the collapsing economy. Now, again, a major contributing factor is the sanctions. So they really could make things a lot better in the short term by getting rid of those sanctions, by allowing trade for Russian oil and food. But they don't want to do that, right? Because they want to keep diverting funds to Raytheon and Boeing and these weapons manufacturers and doing this money laundering through Ukraine. So because of that, they're not going to be doing any kind of substantial investigation into what's happening there, and changing course for the sanctions. So let's talk about the double standard here. So first of all, let's just remind ourselves, what exactly are we actually freaking out about? What actually happened on January 6th? Do you guys remember this clip? Do you guys remember the QAnon shaman, as he was called? This guy. Here's a great clip that I think summarizes exactly what happened on January 6th.
Hey! Fucking hey, man. Glad to see you guys. You guys are fucking patriots. Look at this guy. He's got covered in blood. God bless you.
God bless you.
You good, sir? Do you need medical attention?
I'm good, thank you.
All right.
I got shot in the face.
Got shot in the face.
I got shot in the face.
Got shot in the face with a plastic bullet.
Any chance I could get you guys to leave the Senate wing?
We will. I've been making sure they ain't disrespecting the place.
Okay, just want to let you guys know this is like
This is like the sacred place, the sacredest place. This is what we're freaking out about, guys.
Glad to see you.
This is what we're freaking out about. The fact that these stupid fucking rednecks broke into the Capitol, did a riot in the Capitol, and it, this is like the worst of it. This is them going into the Senate chamber, this like the sacredest place, man. And this jabroni standing up there with the flag. It's so freaking dumb, right? And we have to have these congressional hearings, and we need to do these 3-hour ABC specials and round-the-clock CNN, MSNBC. And everybody on fucking Twitter needs to freak out about it, including Marianne Williamson, who, by the way, is like the most boomer, normie person on Twitter. I don't know how the hell she was able to market herself as like an outsider during the 2020 election, because dear God, she is the most normie person on Twitter, her and Andrew Yang. But yeah, like, it's just, it's so dumb, isn't it? Like, this is what we're supposed to be freaking out about. The fact that these dumb rednecks broke into the Capitol, that the feds shot a protester, and then several police officers died. Although there's a lot of questions around the actual circumstances of the deaths of those police officers. But that's what we're supposed to be focusing on, right? And how much did Trump know? And did Trump orchestrate this? And were there people involved in the government? Now, I do think that there should be some focus on the fact that police officers let protesters into the Capitol, because we know that happened. So sure, let's have an investigation of that. But the fact that they're doing this in such a partisan way, right? It's the same exact thing as Russiagate. It's the same thing as the Trump impeachments. It's just this partisan shit show diversion to distract from the fact that right now, the economy is collapsing in this country. Gas is at $5 a gallon, and that's like in the cheap areas, right? It can be $6, $7, $8. It's getting pretty freaking ridiculous. And every time you go to the grocery store, food is more expensive. The reason that the Dow is crashing right now as we speak is because a new report came out saying that inflation is at a 41-year high. So they're using this as a diversion, right? But let's say that we wanted to be morally consistent and we did actually want to investigate things like this. I think there are a lot of other great examples that we could talk about. Notably, December 15th, 2013. What happened on December 13th, 2015? Well, John McCain and Chris Murphy, 2 United States senators, took part in an anti-government protest in Ukraine.
2 U.S. senators made an appearance in Kiev this weekend to rally tens of thousands of protesters who want to see Ukraine sign a trade deal with the European Union. Senators John McCain of Arizona and Chris Murphy of Connecticut also warned top country officials that there is broad support within the U.S. Senate to officially sanction individuals responsible for violence against protesters if authorities use such force.
I have introduced a resolution in the United States Senate that contemplates sanctions should there be violence on the square.
The senators' appearance contributed to a growing belief among protesters that the U.S. is behind them and against current President Viktor Yanukovych.
Because it was. The U.S. government was involved in a coup against the democratically elected government of Ukraine.
But it's unclear whether such appearances will expedite the movement's demands, given that Mr. Yanukovych's presidency stretches until spring 2015, and he has ignored calls to dismiss his government. This is the Foreign Bureau.
So John McCain obviously is deceased now, but Chris Murphy is still a United States Senator. He's actually my United States Senator in Connecticut. And he participated in an anti-government protest in Ukraine, the Maidan movement, which included many members of the right sector, many of these fascists. So it was actually, in part, a fascist insurrection against the democratically elected government of Ukraine, and it was successful in removing the democratically elected government of Ukraine. Chris Murphy and John McCain participated in a coup against the Ukrainian government, and it was successful. So why is there no December 15th committee? Why are we not talking about 2 United States senators? Again, one is deceased, but one is still sitting. Why are we not talking about Chris Murphy and the fact that Chris Murphy participated in a coup in Ukraine? Isn't that important? It was in part a right-wing coup. It was in part led by fascists. Aren't we all upset about that? Aren't we freaking out about the fact that these rednecks who stormed the Capitol were Nazis? Well, how about the fact that there were Nazis in the rally that Chris Murphy participated in that insurrection? Or the fact that in the years that followed, your taxpayer money has been going to fund and arm Nazis in Ukraine. We don't care about that, do we? Here's another video, just to make clear that they were actually participating in the rally itself. And I want to point out these red and black flags here. This is the blood and soil flags by the right sector. So keep track of these red and black flags.
People of Ukraine, This is your moment.
Народи український, це ваш момент.
This is about you, no one else.
Це про вас.
This is about the future you want for your country. This is about the future you deserve.
Це про ваше майбутнє, про майбутнє вашої країни. Це про майбутнє, на яке ви заслуговуєте.
A future in Europe.
Майбутнє Європи.
A future of peace. Good
Майбутнє миру.
relations with all of your neighbors.
Майбутнє всіх ваших сусідів.
The free world is with you. America is with you.
America is with you. Pay attention to the words that he's using here. He's saying Europe and America are with the anti-government protesters who are going to remove Ukraine's democratically elected government from office.
I am with you. And the destiny you seek lies in Europe.
І ваша доля, як ми вважаємо, знаходиться в об'єднаній Європі.
Ukraine will make Europe better, and Europe will make Ukraine better.
So again, this is important. This is the messaging that John McCain and Chris Murphy said to these protesters. Europe and the United States is behind you. Your future is with Europe. There's other statements he made about, actually, it was very telling about how Ukraine was the gateway to Russia, which makes you think about why the U.S. was pushing for NATO expansion into Ukraine since 2008, since the Bush administration. But again, if we're going to be morally consistent here, if we're going to freak out about January 6th and what Trump did or what other members of Congress knew, why are we not freaking out about the fact that Chris Murphy participated in an anti-government protest in Ukraine on December 15th, 2013, which ended up removing Ukraine's democratically elected government from power? It was actually successful. January 6th was not successful, right? Like those rednecks storming the Capitol, who knows if they actually really thought they were going to be able to change the outcome of the election or, overtake the government or whatever they were thinking. But guess what? They weren't successful. They didn't do any of those things. This protest that Chris Murphy participated in actually did remove the government of Ukraine from office. So why are we not talking about that? Why are we not talking about any of the other coups that the United States has been behind? Under Donald Trump, there was a failed coup against Venezuela's government. There's been many failed coups against Venezuela's government, many failed coups against Cuba's government. How about what we did in Libya? How about what we did in Syria? How about the fact that George W. Bush and his administration lied about the fact that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and that led to the deaths of 1 million Iraqis? Why are we never investigating these people, the neoliberal, neoconservative establishment, and all of their coups against democratically elected governments around the world? Why is it always that we just ignore those things, but then when we have this stupid pro wrestling partisan political theater, then we're all supposed to obsess about that? Let me tell you something else. This is something that I came across recently. This is from 2004. New York poll, 9/11 was known in advance. A poll conducted by Zogby International suggests half of New Yorkers believe their leaders had foreknowledge of the September 11, 2001 attacks. Half, 49.3%, of New York residents and 41% of New York State residents say some U.S. leaders, quote, knew in advance that attacks were planned on or around the 11th of September 2001 and that they consciously failed to act. According to the poll, 66% in New York would like to see a new probe into the still unanswered questions surrounding the attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon. 66%. You couldn't get 66% for hardly anything. 66% in New York would like to see a new probe into the still unanswered questions surrounding the attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon. Why do we not ever have a committee on that? Why do we not have a new 9/11 committee to talk about what the United States government knew before an attack on United States citizens that killed 3,000 American citizens? How come we're not investigating that? Why are we obsessing over the fact, again, that a bunch of rednecks stormed the Capitol? And I'll tell you why. It's because, of course, this is to send a message to the American people. You better not ever do anything like this again. You better not ever try to storm government buildings or take part in massive anti-government protests, because we will prosecute you. You'll be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. We'll steal money out of your bank accounts. We'll have you blacklisted from ever getting a job again. And you will be considered a traitor, and you will be demonized relentlessly by every corporate media network and every shitlib on Twitter. That's the message that they want to send to the American people. Because again, it's always one-sided, right? It's always focusing on what the American people may have done, or about, if there's people like Trump who may be disruptive in some ways, in some vague ways, to U.S. hegemony and the principles of extending the U.S. sphere of influence around the planet, and doing that in the standard shitlib way. It's always focusing on those things that are undermining the power of the elite in Washington, the bipartisan consensus, the Democrat and Republican, neoliberal, neoconservative, transatlantic, NATO favorable alliance. It's always about ignoring their crimes and focusing on the crimes or the alleged crimes of anybody who stands up against that. And that includes the January 6th protesters, despite the fact that it's fucking laughable, that it's this bullshit, that it's some fucking rednecks sitting on the ground and wearing cow horns, buffalo horns, and waving a flag in the U.S. Senate building. There's a complete double standard in this country. There's two sets of rules, right? There's a set of rules for the elite, and there's a set of rules for the American people. And if you want any proof of that, just look at the fact how many people have been close to the Clintons that have died under mysterious circumstances. There was one just recently who, by the way, was one of the people who connected Epstein with Bill Clinton. He was found hanging and had shot himself with a shotgun. Got that? So he hanged himself and shot himself with a shotgun at the same time. That's just one of the people close to the Clintons who's died under mysterious circumstances. How many have there been? There's been at least a dozen, probably a couple dozen. But they can get away with murder, and they cannot even be investigated. All the people close to Epstein, how come they were never prosecuted? Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein were being prosecuted for a conspiracy, but there were no conspirators, right? Like, who were they procuring the minors for? How come there's no investigation into that? How come they're not prosecuting those people? And again, why is there no new 9/11 committee? Why is there no investigation into what the Bush administration knew about there being no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Why is there no investigation into the coups in Libya, the attempted coup in Syria, the attempted coup in Venezuela, the attempted coups in Cuba? We never prosecute the elites in this country. It's always, again, you have a double standard where the American people are held by one set of rules, and the elite, especially the NATO friendly, Wall Street friendly, entrenched power in Washington, they are held to a completely different standard. So that's why there is no December 15th committee. That's why we never will look into the actual crimes perpetrated by the United States government on its citizenry or against the people of the world. So, and again, keep in mind, this is what we're supposed to focus on, right? We're supposed to focus on this guy, these freaking morons. These are like public enemy number one, right? These guys who are completely, in the end, powerless, who hold no political power, are probably broke. If they, when this happened, they were probably broke. That was before, their prosecution and everything. We're supposed to focus on them and hate them and demonize them, but we're never supposed to criticize the people who are in power, who are, murdering children, bombing families in Yemen, or, actually killing U.S. citizens as well, murdering them with drones. No, it's always the powerless. It's always these people. And again, they're not good people. They're not smart. They're not like, they're not necessarily doing anything good here, but they're trying to send a message to the American people never to rise up like this again. And it's a similar thing. And again, there's probably a different moral standard here, but Julian Assange is being prosecuted for the same reasons, right? Because he stood up to the U.S. government, he exposed U.S. government war crimes, and they're making an example out of him. So, again, it just goes to show you what we're supposed to be focusing on, how we're supposed to be thinking about things, how we're supposed to adopt the perspective of the elite, of the establishment, and focus on this partisan shit show as opposed to actually caring about the fact that gasoline is $5 a gallon and the stock market is collapsing right now and people can't afford to pay their debts or buy groceries. There's a lot bigger things to focus on. How about the fact that we're pushing closer to nuclear war, that we're sending billions of dollars to a proxy war, that we're sending rockets to a proxy war that can be used to fire inside Russia, which could trigger a nuclear war? Why are we not focusing on that? Why are we not focusing on the fact that 19 kids and 2 teachers were killed because these fucking cops in Texas stopped parents and stopped this man from rescuing children? Brezhnev, who was not hit, then grabbed his own gun from his wife and charged towards the school where Ramos barricaded himself and went on a killing spree that left 19 fourth graders and 2 teachers dead and 17 others wounded. "Hey, what are you doing?" the funeral home worker said one cop asked while he bolted towards the school. "I'm going to try and stop them," Brezhnev said as he told the cop. "I told him that Ramos is already inside the school." But the cop, he claimed, told him to stay back and shut up. So again, folks, where's the committee on this? Where's the committee to talk about how these police were preventing people from saving these kids while they were ignoring the phone call, the 911 calls from the kids? Do you see how ridiculous it is, the bullshit that we're supposed to focus on versus the bullshit that actually matters? Nuclear war matters. The U.S. Foreign policy matters. The logic that guides Washington to do all these coups around the planet. That actually matters. The collapsing economy matters. The fact that police are preventing people from rescuing their children from mass shooters, that's pretty suspicious. That matters too. So why are we focusing on a fucking redneck riot from a year and a half ago? Because they don't want us to think about the shit that does matter. They want us to focus on the stuff that does not matter. They want us to be locked in this endless soap opera that's controlled by Chuck Todd and Rachel Maddow and all of these dumbass shitlibs who want us to focus on this bullshit that distracts us from the things that actually impact your life and my life and is making things worse and worse. They don't want us to talk about the Bilderberg meeting. They don't want us to talk about what was discussed at Davos, right? Like, we're not supposed to think about those things. We're supposed to focus on the fact that a year and a half ago, some fucking idiot with buffalo horns on walked into the U.S. Senate chamber. Thanks again, folks, for watching. Again, to see the full interview, please go to rockfin.com/Primo Radical and sign up to become a premium member. There are new episodes of Uncensored coming out every single week, so don't miss out. Head over to rockfin.com/Primo Radical and sign up to become a premium member.